My name's Mark, I'm 43, and I work as a mechanic in a small town. I've been married to Rachel for 15 years. We've had our ups and downs like every couple, but I always believed we were solid, grounded in trust and love. That's why when she told me she needed a weekend to clear her head, I didn't question it. She said she'd stay at a motel a few hours away, read, and think about things. I even helped her pack, believing she just needed space. But that weekend turned out to be the one that changed everything. Sunday afternoon came, and Rachel still hadn't texted me. Usually, she'd at least check in. She wasn't the type to go silent. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. I started worrying, but before I could decide what to do, my phone rang. It was her. Her voice was shaking, almost panicked. She said, "Mark, my car's gone. Someone stole it from the motel parking lot." I was shocked, asked if she'd called the police. She said she had, and they were coming. I told her to stay calm, that I'd come pick her up if needed. She hesitated, then said she'd figure it out. Something about her tone didn't sit right with me. It wasn't fear, it was guilt. A few hours later, Rachel came home, earlier than I expected. When she walked through the door, she looked exhausted but nervous. Not the kind of nervous you get after being robbed, but like someone hiding something. I asked her what happened, and she said the police were handling it. But she didn't want to talk about it anymore. I tried to comfort her, but she kept avoiding eye contact. Then I noticed something strange. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. She always wore it. When I asked about it, she said she must have taken it off to shower at the motel and forgot it. That excuse didn't sit right with me either. Something deep down told me that her car being stolen wasn't the full story. That night, I couldn't sleep. Rachel was lying next to me, pretending to be asleep, but I could tell she wasn't. Her breathing was uneven, and every few minutes, she'd sigh. Around midnight, I got up, went to the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of water, my mind racing. If her car was really stolen, the police would have taken a report, right? So the next morning, I called the local station near the motel. The officer I spoke with said there was a report, but it wasn't made by Rachel. It was made by a man named Ethan Miller. My stomach dropped. I didn't know anyone by that name, but apparently, he was listed as being with Rachel at the time. That was the moment I realized my wife had gone to clear her head. She'd gone with someone else. When Rachel came home from work that evening, I was waiting for her at the table. I asked her straight out, "Who's Ethan?" Her face went pale. She didn't answer right away, just stared at me like a cornered animal. Finally, she muttered, "Has just a friend. From yoga." Yoga. She hadn't been to yoga in over a year. I told her I'd spoken to the police, that I knew he was with her at the motel. That's when the truth started to slip out. She said she'd made a mistake, that it wasn't what I thought. But I knew better. She was caught, and she knew it. I didn't yell. I just sat there, staring at her, feeling something inside me go cold. 15 years of marriage, and it all started to crumble right in front of me. Rachel started crying, saying it only happened once and that she didn't mean for it to go that far. But her words felt rehearsed, like something she had been preparing to say. I asked her if Ethan was the reason she wanted space. She nodded slowly, unable to look at me. She told me she'd met him a few months ago, through a coworker, and that they'd started talking about life, just as friends. Then, apparently, one conversation led to another, and before she knew it, she was confused about her feelings. I listened quietly. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't even stand up. I just felt empty. She was sitting there, trying to justify betraying me, and all I could think was how much time, energy, and trust I'd given to someone who didn't value it. The next few days were quiet. Painfully quiet. We still lived under the same roof, but it felt like we were strangers sharing a house. She'd go to work early, come home late, and barely say a word. I didn't push her for answers, I just observed. Then one night, while she was showering, her phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't want to be that guy, but curiosity got the better of me. The message on the screen read, "I miss you. Wish you were here instead of him." It was from Ethan. That was all the confirmation I needed. The so-called mistake wasn't over, it was ongoing. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I sat on the couch until morning, thinking about my next move. Something in me had shifted. I wasn't broken anymore. I was just done. The next morning, I woke up before Rachel and started packing a small bag. I didn't tell her I was leaving. I just left a note on the table that said, "Take care of yourself. I need time to think." I drove out to my brother's cabin by the lake, a quiet place I hadn't visited in years. I spent the first day just sitting on the porch, staring at the water, trying to make sense of how everything had fallen apart. The anger slowly turned into sadness and then into clarity. I realized I couldn't fix what Rachel broke. Trust, once gone, doesn't come back the same. That thought hurt, but it also freed me. For the first time in a long while, I was alone with my thoughts, and that didn't scare me anymore. A few days later, Rachel called me. I didn't answer at first, but she kept calling, again and again. Finally, I picked up. Her voice was soft, shaky. She said she was sorry, that she ended things with Ethan, and she just wanted me to come home so they could talk. But something about her tone told me it wasn't guilt, it was fear. Not of losing me, but of being alone. I asked her one simple question. Would you have told me the truth if you hadn't been caught? She stayed silent for a few seconds and then whispered, I don't know. That silence said everything I needed to hear. I told her I wasn't coming back, not now, maybe not ever. She cried, begged me to at least think about it, but my decision was made. I wasn't angry anymore. Just tired. It's been 6 months since that day. I moved out for good, found a small apartment closer to my work, and started rebuilding my life piece by piece. The first few weeks were rough. I'd wake up expecting to see her beside me, only to be met with silence. But over time, that silence became peace. I learned to cook for one, to take quiet walks in the evening, to find comfort in solitude. Friends told me I seemed calmer, lighter, and maybe I was. Rachel reached out a few times, asking to meet, to talk things through, but I never did. Some things don't need closure, they just need distance. Now, when I think about what happened, I don't feel bitterness anymore. I just feel grateful I found the truth before wasting any more years living a lie.